What is up, my hungry gringos? So great to see you as always. Tell me, how are you doing today? What are you eating? What are you cooking? I'm very curious. Now today, we are going to be talking about 4 things that the American restaurant industry could learn from Colombia. Just a fair warning, the last thing that I talk about is gonna make you kind of nervous next time you pay for a meal in the United States. So I've been living outside of Colombia for about a year and change now, and the longer I'm outside the United States, when I go back to visit, I feel like I have a new perspective on the way we do things back in the good old US of A. Hopefully by the end of this video, you'll feel more cultured, well-rounded, and world-wise. Or you'll just yell at the computer screen. If you are a fan of funny videos about food and cooking, make sure to hit that subscribe button below, because I really think you're gonna dig my channel. If you like boring videos about food and cooking, well, probably skip this one. Let's do it. And here you go. Thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you so much. So the first thing I want to talk about, I never really thought about when I was in the United States, but now that I've started noticing it, it bothers me to no end. So have you had a second to think about appetizers? I haven't even looked at it yet, so maybe just give me a second. Totally fine, take your time. I'll come back in 1 second. So like I was saying, the first thing I want to talk about is, so you ready to order those apps yet? No, I didn't literally mean a second, like give me a little bit of time to look at the menu. Yeah, don't worry, I'll let you know when I'm ready. Totally fine, take your time. I'll come back when you're ready. So the first thing American restaurants could learn from Colombia is to leave me alone. So when I go back to the United States, it's always jarring to me how quickly a meal progresses. So, you ready to order those apps? I'd recommend the jalapeno poppers. I swear to God. Look, the only reason I'm checking up on you so much is because I want to make you feel that your time is valuable and that you're a valued customer, which you are. Hey man, I totally get that. This isn't on you, all right? See, he has no choice but to respect American dining culture. And American dining culture dictates that the waiter bother you every 10 seconds. In America, if you don't rush someone through a meal, it seems like you're not valuing their time. So if a waiter leaves you alone for a long time, it's not seen as them letting you enjoy your meal, it's seen as them not being attentive enough and not valuing your time. So what I'm here to tell you is that this is a problem with American dining culture, because once you go to a place where they don't do that, it's actually really nice. And I'd make the argument that being that attentive goes against what it means to eat at a restaurant. So when I was in the restaurant biz, as we call it, I was a busboy in college. I accidentally referred to someone dining at the restaurant as a customer. And a longtime waiter corrected me and said, no, they're not customers. 7-Eleven has customers, they're guests. And that just seems like a ridiculous distinction, but it's true. If you're dining out somewhere, the person is a guest. They're not there to just get a product and leave and complete a transaction. They're there to enjoy an experience. And it's like having a guest in your house. If you're in the middle of a dinner party, having a great conversation, you're not gonna interrupt them every 5 seconds asking if they're ready for the main course, because that would kind of suck. Unless, of course, you're having one of those insufferable conversations about politics, in which case, please, bring on the meatloaf so I can hear you stop talking about which politician's a communist. And I used to think this was totally normal until I lived in a place where they don't do it, and I realized that a meal is way more enjoyable when you're not being interrupted every 5 seconds. And as a bonus, you never have to have that awkward conversation with the waiter where your mouth is full and you're like, yeah, it's fine, thanks, I appreciate it. Does anyone else notice this? Does anyone else find this annoying in the United States? Let me know in the comment section below. So have you thought about those apps yet? I've been standing here for a while. Yes, I have actually, and I'm gonna just have the side salad to start. And yeah, I'll have the dressing on the side. In Latin America, they also have this thing called sobremesa, where you just kind of sit and chat after the meal's done. It's a really great way to kind of relax. Because I think that a meal is kind of a relaxing oasis in the middle of an otherwise hectic world. Why would you also want to make that hectic? We're always in a rush. We're rushing to work. We're rushing while we're at work. We're running around to do errands. If we're rushing through everything else, why rush through your meal? That's kind of like your oasis at the end of the day where you get a chance to relax. We should seize the opportunity to just sit, chill, not really worry about what time it is. It also might have some serious health implications. The average time spent eating in France per person is about 2 hours and 22 minutes. In the United States, it's only 1.5 hours. That's about an hour difference in the time we spend eating. Now, I'm not saying that eating really fast makes you fat. I'm just saying that if you're not sitting down to have a proper meal every once in a while, then what are you eating? You're eating stuff that you can prepare really fast or consume on the go, and that's really not the healthiest food that we can eat. We're talking about burgers and donuts here, so maybe it'd be good if we just took some time every once in a while to sit down and enjoy a meal. And speaking of unhealthy, the portions are literally killing us. All right, so let's get this out of the way because I think my food is coming. So here's the salad that you ordered. Thank you very much. And dressing on the side as requested. Yep, thanks. Wow. I ordered the side salad. That is the appetizer salad. Whoa, oh, okay then, that's, wow, all right. So just let me know when you want to order that entree. Actually, I think I might just be good with this, thanks. Are you on a diet? Nope, just trying to eat like a human, not trying to open up a zoo for herbivores. All right, so let's just put this dressing on there. Yeah, ooh. So every time I go to the States, as I discussed in my previous video, I have the same thought. How are there so many obese people? And then inevitably I go to a restaurant and my second thought is, how is everyone not obese? It really hit me hard last time I was in the States because the last time I was there, I gained 5 pounds in 12 days. You might chalk it up to my lack of self-restraint, but that is scientifically unsound, okay? And I'll explain why a little bit later. So I was in the United States because I was going to Hawaii for a friend's wedding and we were staying on the north shore of Oahu. Hard life, I know. So this area only has one hotel, so we needed to get an Airbnb. And as my wife and I were looking through reviews of Airbnbs, every single review mentioned this place called Ted's Bakery. It was either really close to Ted's Bakery or not too far from Ted's Bakery or way too far from Ted's Bakery. And I thought, well, if this bakery is the yardstick for which we measure every single Airbnb, we need to go to Ted's Bakery. So the stars aligned and we were lucky enough to snag an Airbnb within walking distance to Ted's Bakery. We walked on over there and ordered a mini plate of shoyu chicken, which is a dish that's really popular on the island. Not only are they a bakery with very solid donuts, by the way, they're also a restaurant that serves plate lunches in little takeout containers. So we ordered the mini plate of shoyu chicken. We order, sit down, our number's called, and we get the mini plate. And the mini plate, and I cannot stress the word mini enough, was enough for 2 people with a little bit left over. Which is crazy to me because if something's a mini plate, I expect it to be mini, like maybe a snack, not a full meal, and let alone a full meal for 2 people. So I thought, how is this mini? And then I ordered a regular plate. I really wanted to try the Loco Moco, which is a Hawaiian specialty, and they only offered it in full plates, unfortunately, so I had to order one. And I open up this plate lunch, and this is enough food for like 4 people, and I'm not even exaggerating. I had a dinner party recently, and the amount of rice on this plate was about the equivalent of the amount of rice I made for a 4-person dinner party. Given this dish is a hamburger smothered in gravy with a fried egg on top, so I didn't expect it to be healthy, but this thing was just insane. It blew my little expat mind. So you might just say, well, eat less food than what's in front of you, man. And I'm here to tell you that that's psychologically very difficult, if not impossible. In one study, for example, researchers found that when one group of people was presented with 1,000 grams of macaroni versus another group that was presented with 500 grams of macaroni, the people presented with the bigger portion size ate 30% more. So even if you cut that in half, you're still eating 15% more. So if you give someone more food, they're gonna eat more, pretty much, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Our brains are just wired to eat more when presented with a larger portion. So in order to override your primitive brain and eat less food when presented with a giant plate of rice, you're gonna have to exercise a lot of willpower, which is annoying. I don't wanna have to exercise a ton of willpower when I go out to eat. I wanna sit there, eat whatever is in front of me, and then not have to think about it, which is totally possible in Colombia, because when you get a burger and fries here, they give you like a dozen fries, not this giant mound of fries. So you're able to eat out and eat a reasonable amount of calories. So if you want to eat anything approaching a reasonable amount of calories in the United States, you're either gonna not eat out, which is probably not gonna happen because a lot of our socializing happens over food, or you can eat out and exercise a tremendous amount of willpower, which probably won't happen in the first place, as I demonstrated before. And if you don't have time to cook and you're in the US, you're pretty much screwed. If only there was someone to teach us how to make quick and easy recipes that are also delicious. If only. That person would be a real hero. But let's say you're on the road for business and you have no means to cook, then you're really out of luck. In Colombia, you can grab a quick snack or eat out and eat a reasonable amount of calories. And American portion sizes are definitely bigger. One American researcher went to both Philadelphia and France and busted out a scale during his dinner and weighed identical foods in both cities. What they found was that portions in the US for identical food items, I'm talking about pizza, burgers, fries, whatever, were about 25% bigger on average. That is a huge difference. So these portion sizes are really getting to our waistline. And it would be kind of funny, I guess, if it weren't killing us. According to Time magazine, obesity has shaved 1 year off of the life expectancy of the average American, which I guess doesn't seem like that much, but is crazy when you consider throughout almost all of human history, life expectancy has been going up. I mean, they used to prescribe cocaine and tinctures of mercury for diseases. We should be living longer than those people, which we are, but still, you know what I mean. You know what? I think I'm just gonna pass on this, actually. Yeah, let's get that on out of there. Ugh. Gross. Got dressing all over my hands. So I brought out the check for you, and you can take care of that whenever you're ready. Oh, that was quick. Did I ask you for the check, or? I figured that you were ranting so much that you're probably done with your meal. Fair enough. Thanks. And this kind of goes back to my first point. Why does the waiter just bring out the check and assume that you want it? They're effectively kicking you out of the restaurant and ending your meal. In Colombia, they've never brought me the check and only asked me if I wanted the check like once this year and some change that I've been living here. And it's great because it doesn't feel rushed. It feels like you can take as much time as you want. When they give you the check, they're effectively ending your meal. Why is that? Because you gotta bust out the calculator, figure out if you're being a jerk by tipping less than your friends, and figuring out whether you tip before tax or after tax or 15%, 18, 20%, who knows? That's why I think America needs to implement automatic tipping. So now that I got my check and my nice but overly rushed meal is drawing to a close, it is time to pay. In any other industry, the owner figures in the cost of electricities, raw materials, and labor into the price of the item, but not at restaurants. Now I can go on a whole rant about why tipping is super weird and awful, why I shouldn't be determining how much a worker gets paid for serving me food, and why you're a huge asshole, by the way, if you don't tip people. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I am here to do, however, is convince you that the Colombian system for tipping is far superior. They do is after you ask for a check, they ask, "Incluye el servicio?" which means, in my horribly pronounced Spanish, that's not even pronounced, "Would you like me to include the service charge?" Then you say yes, and they bring the check to you with the tip already calculated. It is magical. That way you don't have to do math at the end of a meal, which is super duper annoying because who wants to add math to a leisurely activity? Yeah, that one guy you used to beat up that was in chess club, but he's the only one. The service charge is 10% in Colombia, which is way too low for the United States because of how little we pay our restaurant workers. But we could implement, let's say, 18%, which they already add to large parties bills in the United States anyways. But what would incentivize me to do a better job in that case? Well, what's to incentivize anyone for doing a good job in any other industry anyways? The service is spectacular here in Colombia and they're only getting 10%. And it turns out that how good a waiter is at their job really doesn't make a difference. People are gonna tip the same amount just from person to person. A good job, according to one study, only results in a 1% increase in tips. So the automatic tip is way better, and if you want to, you're free to tip more. Just hand me your credit card so we can finish up this exhausting interaction. Wait, I'm supposed to just give you my credit card? I don't get paid enough for this. No, can't argue with that. But that brings me to my next point. How we pay with credit cards is insane. Now this is something I never gave a second thought when I was in the United States, but now that I'm living outside the United States, it seems insane to me. You see, in Colombia and a lot of Europe, when you pay with a credit card, the waiter just brings a wireless credit card machine to your table, you give them your card, they stick it in the chip machine or swipe it if you don't have a chip, and hand you a receipt, and then you sign it. Which makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Because in the United States, you're giving one of the most sensitive pieces of information on your person to a underpaid, overworked stranger to take into a back room and do whatever they want with it. That's kind of crazy when you think about it, right? Let me know in the comment section below if you agree. Wait, are you saying that I'm dishonest? Look, I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying though is that I don't know. Look, you're a complete stranger and I'm giving you a very sensitive piece of information. I wouldn't give you my social security number, so why am I giving you my credit card? Look, you're just being paranoid, okay? Am I though? In 2011, a ring of 28 waiters who worked at various upscale steakhouses in Manhattan stole the credit card information of a bunch of customers and use that information to buy vintage French wine, Louis Vuitton handbags, Cartier jewelry, and a Roy Lichtenstein, am I pronouncing that right? I have no idea, lithograph of Marilyn Monroe. And all they needed to obtain that information was a skimmer, something about the size of a lipstick case that they could swipe the credit card in and it would record its information. If the waiter's in front of you when they're running that transaction, it's a lot harder to pull off. Look, just hand me your credit card so we can finish up this exhausting interaction. Here you go. I'll get that right back to you. So when you really break it down, that entire system is at best antiquated and at worst totally insane. Is that a Versace scarf? Gotta check on my other tables. Am I getting my credit card back? I feel like I'm not. I'd run after him, but I'm still full from a meal that I had 2 days ago and I really want to take a nap. So what are your pet peeves about American dining culture? Do you also notice weird things about eating out in America that I overlooked? Let me know in the comments section below, along with any suggestions for future videos. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me out and takes almost zero effort. And if you want to directly support The Hungry Gringo, like Quills is currently, make sure to check out our Patreon on patreon.com/thehungrygringo. Well, until next time, folks, this is The Hungry Gringo, signing off.